Now that we are back, welcome back to some more Stormworks. I'm StormRunner Gaming, and today we're going to be looking at the latest update and the patch notes for Stormworks. And I'm going to jump over to the patch notes right now that I've got for you guys. So basically, what we've got is the Stormworks developers are talking about a popular request from the community to rework the suspension physics for the game. And so basically, the old suspension parts, they have revised them to be a lot better, and I'll be showing that off in a minute here with their little dune buggy they give us as a present in the game. And they have added another suspension part. It's more like a suspension rod per se, where you can put a wheel on the bottom of it, and I will show you guys what that is too. And apparently they've added in carrying features to the game that allows it to be better than it used to be. I'm not exactly sure how well that'll work or what it means for the game basically, but hopefully it makes it a lot easier. Apparently it does make it a lot easier to carry things, probably putting things on ships with a helicopter or something, carrying people, objects, I assume. So, and they said something about fluid connectors being easier to connect, and it will be very important for the next major update. So they leave a little bit of ambiguity. Ambiguity? That's the word. Anyways, they're leaving it very vague at the moment. So I'll jump back into the game right now, and I have the dune buggy to show off the suspension right here. And they did show a little video in the patch notes, but of course the picture I have for mine doesn't have the video on it. I apologize for that, but I wanted to show you guys the list real quick if you were interested in all the specifics. But of course, if you do own the game, or you can actually just go look at the patch notes on the Steam page. But you'll be driving over to this little ledge, and it seems like I'm not exactly sure how stiff they made the suspension, but there is a lot more movement in it now than it used to be. It was very rigid before, and now it seems to have a lot more flexibility to it, which will help with off-roading and stuff, but I'm not exactly sure. It seems to have, well, it doesn't actually create a big problem driving. It should in turn actually help you in driving by taking the blows, but I don't exactly know how they design the suspension in this game, because I have played with suspension and the different ways you can set it up on cars, especially in Scrap Mechanic. That's a big thing where you can play with the orientation of the suspension and everything, and I'm not exactly sure if they have it in the optimal position at the moment. That was weird. But I'm going to go rescue my vehicle to the workshop, and while I'm here, I can show off the other type of suspension and then get into carrying some things. So first off, we do need to pull up our components inventory and go down to the pneumatic suspension. And basically, it is just like a rod of suspension. So I'm not exactly sure, especially with cars, that'd be very tall to put on something. So you'd have the type of scrap mechanic thing where you'd have to build the vehicle around the suspension. But I believe, especially with larger vehicles, you probably could fit it in somewhere to give it that extra boost of um, suspension for the vehicle. All right, now I'm going to go and load in another vehicle to play around with the lifting real quick. I'm going to see what I have actually. We have a couple different helicopters. They're all pretty good. That's a fire rescue one. I believe I've scrolling through here before. And if anyone was wondering, I did get a couple messages from the creator of the D77H TCI Pelican Olive. And yes, it was my fault that it wasn't working. I did not read the description fully. I was kind of in a rush that day to get the episode out for you guys, but I apologize to him slash her, the creator of it. And maybe later on I will go and fix it or get the latest version. But anyways, let me go grab a helicopter and I'll be right back with that. Alright, after me being somewhat oblivious to the controls of it, I figured out I was sitting in the co-pilot seat. That's my bad. but we can get out of here and spawn in something that we can carry around real quick. I do want to see what they're talking about with the latest update, and that's why I'm here in the game. And I apologize if anyone does really like this game that I have taken a hiatus from it for about a week or so, but I kind of overplayed the game a little while ago. Like, I did a lot of videos on it, and I apologize if people don't like the game as much, that the channel is kind of flooded with that. So I tried to pull back on it, especially with Nimbatus episodes coming out recently, and I got the closed alpha key from the developer. I was more interested in that, so I did want to get back in because I saw the update a few days ago on Steam actually now. So let me go and grab something to pick up. Actually, I'm not exactly sure. I have to read the patch notes myself to figure out what they're talking about. Excuse me. Better control for pickup, so I'll be right back. I have read it wrong, apparently. So the update was talking about picking up objects as my person, not as like a helicopter or something picking it up. Apparently they do have a little update to the picking up of some things with the helicopters, but apparently picking up like barrels and stuff to be able to be loaded onto a vehicle of sorts has gotten better. I'm not exactly sure. I don't see many differences. If you do know of differences, I think they they rotated a lot more. They didn't stay level maybe when you were holding them before. But I guess that would help out a bit, considering if you wanted to like pile them up on a cargo ship or something. That's not good. So that's the main part of the update. I was just reading more into the patch notes of it. Apparently I'm unable to get back in. There's not exactly a kill switch here. There we go. But I'm going to go and actually spawn something in real quick for this thing to pick up and see what changes, if any, that they made. Dang it. I guess I'll be back once I fix my helicopter and once I spawn in something else, so I'll be back in a minute or two. Actually, it won't be any time at all for you guys, so I'll be back in a flash. Nope, 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 nope. Don't take off. Get to the chopper. Quite literally. Movie references. They should really have like a helipad to spawn helicopters in, so you don't have to like maneuver them out of the garage like that, because it sometimes is quite difficult to get them out of the garage, especially when it's less controllable than desirable. But let me go grab something with a magnet in it, and of course I'll be back with that. Now this is an interesting thing to realize while I'm moving this six-wheeler out to be picked up. Seems like the brakes, I don't know if the brakes are extremely realistic. They kind of just lock up. The game doesn't really have an ABS type of system for the brakes, but I mean, it's nice they do have a system to brake at least, instead of your car rolling away. But the suspension does seem to be a bit better on here too, especially with the 6 axles carrying the load. But I'm going to jump back into the Coast Guard helicopter, and we're going to go and grab that car right there and see if there's anything really different with it. And I want to check out one more thing before the episode ends. The, what was it called? The fluid connectors. I apologize for me not remembering that, but... Oh shoot. Wrong button. Technical difficulties. Let me throw auto hover on. Alright, we are lining up right now to pick up our 6-wheeler. If I can... That wasn't too difficult. There doesn't seem to be much difference in how it's being controlled. So yeah, I don't think the update, the most recent update, really changed anything with picking up stuff with helicopters, and I apologize if that's too loud. Hopefully it isn't, but I'm going to go and look at the fluid connector like I said earlier, and then the episode will be over, so I'll be right back with that. Alright, I'm back with my modern yacht in front of me, and I have a couple new parts from the most recent update. We have, I'm not exactly sure how many different things we've got here, but we have the flow valve, a on-off valve. We have the variable valve, and fluid cannon, fluid meter, and fluid pressure sensor. So it seems like they're gearing up to have a bigger update for water pressure, I would assume. So we don't exactly have like a water tank, do we? We may have a water tank. It seems like they have a lot of new things to control the flow of water and stuff in your helicopters, your ships and stuff. So you can have a gauge now that gives you how much fluid is within an enclosed volume. So your fluid meter, I guess, your pressure gauge. And one thing I wanted to add on, I don't know if this was the most recent update, but we do have a large keypad and a small keypad. So I may have missed that from a previous update, and I fully know that, or it might have been from the most recent one. And that's going to be a really good thing for large ships, because I've seen a lot of large ships from the workshop, and all of them have like a wall of buttons basically. So if you can have a entire keypad in front of you or in front of your lieutenant or something on a ship, that's not the right term. I know I'm going to get comments about it, but anyways, if you have that with another person able to control all those buttons instead of having to have like a wall of buttons behind them, it's going to be a really good thing for the game and to control a lot of stuff. So that is a cool addition. And then they have a small one too, which probably would help for any type of ship actually. I could actually use one on here maybe. I'm not exactly sure if I want to yet. I'd like to do some upgrades to this thing sometime, but then again, the weight limit has kind of been reached. Oh, shoot. Alright, I was thinking it was going to be like a 4x4, 6x6 block where each button was going to be like its own like 1x1 block, but these are small little blocks in themselves, and I assume that we can put a control onto each one of those little buttons. It's going to be impossible, like astronomically impossible to be able to actually push all those little buttons unless you put them to a number, but I don't know. That's for another day in Stormworks. But anyways, let me jump out of here. I am pretty excited to get the latest and greatest for the fluid update, I'm going to call it, for the next one. I'm not actually sure is that the right direction they're going or not, but hopefully. Just speculation. But anyways, if you guys like this, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up with Stormworks and more of my content. But I've never been great at goodbye. Some people need me, and I need to go.